Win in Norway. Learn needlebinding from a Norwegian.
From the one person doing it left-handed.
Yeah. It still looks a little bit like something that I've pulled out of the shower drain. It's not looking great. It's looking very amateur. I'm a lot happier with the tension, even though I have no idea actually what my baseline for good tension is yet. Is 15 minutes a day enough to learn a completely new skill? That was the question I asked myself almost immediately after having my very first crafting session with friend and fellow YouTuber Kristine. Because being Norwegian herself, she took advantage of the fact that I was currently working in Norway to come visit me, and she spent about an hour teaching me the craft of Nalbinding. Now, this is a fiber art that predates both knitting and crochet. It is a little bit similar to them, but it's also quite different. It's also very, very old, and it was something I had never tried before. So naturally, as a complete beginner, I floundered pretty hard. As you will see, it was messy, it was mildly frustrating, and most of the time I felt like I had no idea what I was really doing. I wasn't making any progress. So then almost immediately after she left, I started to wonder how long it would realistically take for me to get good at this skill, to feel like I knew what I was doing and actually making progress. And so the idea for this video was born, taking only the knowledge that I gained from that one session with Kristine and dedicating only 15 minutes a day to practicing this skill. Would I improve? Well, let's see. All right, friends, I just dropped Kristine off at the bus. Had so much fun with her. It was absolutely lovely. And we just spent the last hour together, she teaching me a little bit of Nalbinding. So she has left me with a couple of the samples that we were working on. This absolutely stunning U-wood needle. So generous of her to leave that with me. And a ball of yarn. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to spend another maybe 15-20 minutes today just working on this one, trying to really cement the technique in my brain before I forget it. And then tomorrow I'm going to start day one of 15 minutes every day just to see if a tiny bit of work every day can help me learn a new skill. How is it going to go? Is it going to be really easy? What are going to be the challenges? Looking forward to it. So let's give it a try. I'm going to sit down, work a little bit on this today, and then I'll see you tomorrow for an official day one. All right. I'm very excited to learn.
I think it's easier if you use the big one.
The big one? Okay.
Yeah. And just we can start with a short chunk of thread.
Yeah, what would you recommend? Like here? More?
Yeah. Do a little bit more. But I'm just going to start with the loop.
Where, at the very end?
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay. Like a slip knot type situation?
Yeah, just something quite easy.
Do I have too much of a
That's all right.
tail? Okay. Will you hold it? Should I be holding my needle in this
No,
hand?
it's because I'm left-handed. So I'm sorry, this is going to be a challenge for you.
Oh, this is going to be an interesting challenge. Okay, all right.
I apologize.
Okay,
I
no,
forget
it's
that
fine.
this is a thing. What you want is that you want to have a stitch that is resting on top of your thumb and one
Through
stitch
the
that is
top,
resting
like so?
behind. Yeah. So other people have better ways of starting. I just kind of go until I have one over the thumb and one behind.
Oh. Can I do like that? Can I put the slip
it's a good
knot
start.
over?
It's a good start.
But then where's the seam resting?
It's all right.
Okay, well, let's just try it, I guess.
Yeah, just
Let's
for
try
a start. The start
Yeah.
is the hardest part. For a basic stitch, you just go into the loop
Yes.
behind, and then you twist a bit, and you go under the thumb. And some stitches go also under the thread.
Does that look
That is-
right?
Yeah, and if
I
you
know, no
rest
mirror.
let's see, if we rest this one over your thumb like so, you could choose, because you're going on top of the thumb, and then you either go here and through the thumb on top, either out here, but a lot of the times you go under the thread as well.
So then it would go under there.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then you
pull
just
it through.
pull it through. This is
But
the
it just popped back over my thumb. Is
Yes,
that okay? Do I let it or do I keep it on
you
this
let
side?
it. So you let the new loop becomes your new thumb loop. This one slides behind.
Wait,
This
which
is-
one becomes my new thumb loop?
So this is the new stitch that we just did, the bigger one. So this one becomes the new thumb loop, and then this one, the old one, slides off, and you're sort of continuing like that.
I think I definitely did something goofy from the start then, because mine's definitely not looking like that. The fact that they're mirrored is probably not a good thing either. It's making it trickier than need be, but what if I learned how to do this with my left hand just so I could learn easier?
I mean, if you're ambidextrous, that could be easy.
Let's try it. Let's try it. I mean, it's a new skill, right? So like I should theoretically Okay, so you've got both both
This
sides
is
are
irrelevant.
wrapping
You can
around
just
like
hide
that.
this one,
Okay,
but
good.
like this one over
Yes.
over here.
Yep.
And then the loop, and then
The
on
loop.
top of it here.
Wait, from which direction? From here? From the
Here?
back? From the front. Okay, from the back, yes.
And then in this case, it's just going to be under the, because we don't have it.
Yeah, because we don't have a, yep.
Just for the first one.
So day one, I'm not starting out too strong. I think part of the problem, other than the fact, obviously, that this is day one, but having done it a little bit yesterday and having the benefit of tried it not only with this absolutely stunning U-wood needle that Kristine left me with, but also with the very tiny bone needle, I'm getting the feeling that the yarn that I'm working with, the yarn she left me with, which is stunning and super good quality, but it's very thin, and while I'm sure that people who are much more experienced can do this with no problem, I am really struggling, and I'm just feeling like the thick needle and the thin thread is a combination that's not leading me to do my best work. So I'm going to try to give myself as much of a leg up as possible, make my whole journey a little bit easier, and I think I'm going to go use this as an excuse to check out the thrift stores here in Norway. This thrift store ended up being a bit more like a consignment shop where there were several different vendors selling their goods all in one location, and it meant that the pricing and the selection was a bit all over the place, but I had so much fun here, and as it turned out, a lot of the vendors had crafting supplies. And I didn't just find yarn, there was also a lot of fabric for sale too. And since I'm in the middle of another patchwork sewing project, you know I just had to grab some souvenirs of Norway to add into it. Friends, I love Norwegian thrift stores. It was amazing. I had such a good find, so many good things, amazing yarn things, Nalbinding things, crafting things. It was so successful, such an amazing journey. Almost all the wools were natural fibers. I'm not sure I saw any synthetics, and they were all a very affordable price, especially considering that Norway is known for being quite expensive in general. So I ended up getting kind of a lot of yarn, and I thought, let's take a look really quick. A little miniature thrift haul in the middle of this video, so bear with me. First of all, and most relevant to this video, I got a handful, a wide variety of yarns for the Nalbinding project. They're all considerably thicker than what I was working with this morning, although they do vary in thicknesses. The thinnest one is probably this one here, but the color was so lovely. I love working with this sage green, and it just really motivated me, which I figured was enough of a reason to buy it. Also, there's not really that much left, so I don't feel too bad if I make a bunch of carcasses out of it. Then I've got a lovely chunky purple and a very chunky dark blue, which I got mostly for the color, but also for the thickness. And then this one, perhaps the most boring color, but I think it's gonna be the best candidate because it is the chunkiest, and also like the texture, it's almost like felted together. So I think there's, you know, some of these are 2-ply, and there's the chance that, you know, can accidentally stick my needle between the plies, which I have a lot of experience with knitting, so I'm not really worried about that, but it did cross my mind that, you know, something that's a little bit more felted and harder to splice on accident might set me up more for success. So those are the ones that are directly related to the Nalbinding. So many fun colors. But then I found a few other things that I just gotta share with you because so good. So first of all, this is 100% merino wool. The skein is completely unopened, untouched, like completely full, and I found 4 of them. 4 of them, all brand new and all for really cheap. So I grabbed those. Those will become something later this winter. I will probably be knitting something with them. So that's very fun. Then also I found, which is the one with the label where I can see, there we go. So this is 50% bamboo, 50% cotton, 4 skeins in this gorgeous lilac color, which, I mean, purple, everyone on this contract has actually already been making fun of me in a fun way, a friendly way, because I'm always wearing purple. I've got purple pants, purple shoes, purple tops. So it's a favorite color of mine. And I got 4 skeins in this lovely lilac color, and then 1 in this dark purple and 1 in this like light tan beige. So that's 6 skeins all together. That's a lot. Like, I can definitely make something out of this. It is so soft. The texture is amazing. So I'm thinking maybe something like this for a nice lightweight summer type knit situation. Then a few other knickknacks that are more sewing related. I did pick up some fabrics here that are gonna go in my English paper piecing project that I'm also working on. And then this is my favorite. Look at this cute little guy. So this is for helping you determine knitting needle size, which, because I'm always thrifting my knitting needles, is very, very handy. I'm always wishing that I have one of these. And he's so cute. It's a little sheep. The holes are in the shape of a heart. What a lovely little souvenir token of Norway. So 100% grab that. Absolutely amazing thrifting haul. Like, mind is blown. This is a dangerous discovery. I might find myself back again before the end of the contract. So with that being said, now that you've seen everything that I've gotten, I'm gonna start my 15 minutes for today. And I think I am gonna start with this guy right here, the chunky, somewhat felted feeling wool, hoping that this is gonna set me up for success, hoping that I'm gonna have much better luck with it than the thinner yarn from this morning. So keep your fingers crossed. Now, what if you also yearn for a stunning selection of high quality natural fiber yarns, but maybe a flight in Norway just isn't in the books for you? Well, what if all those yarns were instead dropped at your doorstep? If you're intrigued and this sounds quite interesting to you, may I suggest a subscription to this week's sponsor, which is Hooks and Needles. They offer knitting and crochet based boxes at hooksandneedles.com for those of you who are crafty but you maybe prefer yarn over thread. Each box has between 2 and 4 gorgeous premium yarns. They're from Italy and Portugal, and these are actually custom milled from artisans for Hooks and Needles. Plus, of course, you get all the other stuff, all the other fun little goodies that their boxes come with. You know, you've got the monthly magazine. It has all of the patterns and detailed instructions in there to make their projects. It's suitable for fiber artists of all skill levels. And I think the funnest part is that everything you need is all included in the box. So you don't have to go hunting around for supplies. You can literally just jump right in while the motivation is hot, because I know I have a lot of ADHD crafters watching my videos, so you know very well that having everything immediately available when that motivation strikes, when you want to get crafting, can be absolutely key. Now, I've spoken on the channel before about how I am a very seasonal crafter, and autumn has always meant at least one knitting project on the needles. If that is also you, if you are starting to find your fingers just itching for a needle and some yarn as the weather gets a bit colder and the leaves start to turn, and you would like to give Hooks and Needles a try, I am very happy to offer all of you 20% off of your first box with the code ShannonMakes20. So if you are interested in trying them out, I do highly recommend it. These yarns are gorgeous. They're very high quality. I've really enjoyed the notions and the patterns. Maybe even going to try one out myself. We'll see. The link to go follow that, it's in the description, hooksandneedles.com. Go ahead and use my code ShannonMakes20. And in the meantime, let's go see how that thrifted yarn is working out. So immediate first impressions are that switching to the chunky yarn was absolutely the right decision. It feels a lot better. It looks a lot better. It still looks a little bit like something that I've pulled out of the shower drain, but generally speaking, like just compared to trying to struggle with the beefy needle and the tiny yarn from yesterday, this is just feeling a lot better. I'm a lot happier with the tension, even though I have no idea actually what my baseline for good tension is yet. So yeah, like I said, if you kind of hold it like this, it's not looking great. It's looking very amateur, which, let me be clear, there is absolutely nothing wrong with being amateur. It's actually a good thing. It means you are trying new things and experimenting, but it does not look at all like something Kristine would produce. However, I do have signs of progress. There's a little bit of hope here, and that is that if I take this and I kind of twist it and force it to be straight and kind of hold it there, then it actually starts to look like something. It looks like a braid on one side, and then if I rotate it, it's kind of got like these weird loose loops, which I don't know if that's actually what I'm supposed to loop through once I connect this in the round. I don't remember, because the first time I did it, it looked so much like garbage. There was zero consistency. So the fact that this actually like has some sort of a pattern, consistent pattern here, is definitely a sign of progress. So I might shoot a couple photos off to Kristine, see what she has to say about this, but otherwise I've done for the day. I've hit my 15 minutes, so I will not be doing any further work on this until I see you tomorrow.
The loops are pretty uneven in the beginning. They will look much better as soon as you start connecting them, because you start pulling them again. It also, I mean, for like first time, trust the process.
Exactly. I'm like,
just you can level up to like doing 2 if you want to, which will give it slightly tighter.
Be this one and this one?
Yeah, so the next previous one, and then do the same where you just twist and go through the thumb.
And does it matter that I've just changed technique halfway through my starting? Nah. All right.
Practice.
No. Yes. Yeah, it's managing everything that goes behind here, that behind my thumb, that is like feeling a bit tricky to me, and also
a bit chaotic.
This feels like it's not right.
People talk about how sometimes personal needle binding is, because I mean you're literally using your thumb as the gauge to keep the stitches the same size.
That's true.
There are some stitches where you use the needle for the gauge instead, that are much smaller stitches, like more suited to thinner yarn, smaller projects. This is probably a bit thin for this kind of stitch, but I don't really have a lot of thick yarn.
Yeah, that's fine.
I looked for the thickest yarn I had.
I appreciate that. I definitely needed it. Well, today's 15 minutes is potentially going to be very, very scenic, because our cast has decided to take a surprise impromptu trip to the seaside. So I've got my yarn and I've got my needle, and I think we're going to have a really scenic 15-minute practice session. So let's go. Also, I do realize that actually this is one of the few skeins that I don't know what the fiber content on it is, because it's hidden behind the price tag here. Now, I do think I can make out the word 100%, but the rest is hidden behind the barcode. So we're gonna hope it's 100% natural fibers. Otherwise, I'm gonna have a really hard time splicing this. Keep your fingers crossed. So I'm pretty sure I ended up doing more than 15 minutes of work on this day, because if you haven't noticed, I am of pale skin and I need frequent breaks from the sun. So all in all, I probably worked about 25 minutes today. out that I did get lucky and the yarn was 100% Australian wool, so I could spit splice to my heart's content. If you're one of my crafty viewers and you've got your eyes in your work at the moment, I highly recommend pausing to look at the screen for a second because you are missing out on some prime Corgi content.
I remember the worst part when I was starting out learning was putting it down and picking it up again. Like, where did my thumb loop go?
Yeah, I can absolutely see that. Okay, now I've just done a boo-boo. This is my live end. This should be on top of my thumb, but now I don't know. Wow. Is it this one? I don't even know. I don't think so. This is what I mean. Look at this. Look at, what is this? This is horrible. I can see what you mean about this yarn being a little bit thin.
Yeah, exactly. Like, this one is a good example of a nice thick yarn.
Yeah.
That, like, you would usually like. And this one even, but I used up all of it for the videos. I had, like, 2 meters left.
I mean, that's fantastic, though, right? We, like, love when we have...
The thread checking on that one was intense. I did not think I was going to manage to finish. Yeah.
So picking back up on day 3, I continued work on the previous day's piece without a specific goal in mind other than just getting more comfortable with the technique. So 2 days of working on it has got me this far, and I'm quite pleased with it. It's looking really good. I feel like my tension is evening out a lot more. I'm feeling like I'm developing a rhythm with my hand and the needles, and it's just feeling a lot more comfortable and natural. Did you just spit splice on these?
I do.
Yeah.
And as you progress, a lot of people, like, they're like, oh, don't do more than an arm's length of thread. And then you see everyone who's actually needlebinding is doing like 4 times that.
Yeah.
Nobody practices
Nobody
what
wants
they preach.
to change the...
Yeah. I could fold like this thread once.
Mm-hmm.
And then I could fold it a second time.
And then
I could put this in my...
So it passes through. Oh, hi!
Yeah, like a double fold.
Hello!
Hello!
Hi, little Corgi. How's it going?
Do you want to play with yarn too?
You want to play with yarn? Okay, but I'm in the middle of a very complicated and delicate operation, so I need not to be distracted. Question. This is the first one, that's the second one? Or this is the first one?
Yeah. That will be the most recent one.
So then I would go through here like this, and then this way? Or that way?
I would go through both. Like
so
that.
Both just the same direction?
In the same direction for this one. Which again, this can be stitch variation. That you could have different stitches that will do, some will twist, some will not twist.
Yeah. It's on purpose. It's artistic decisions and license. It's not that I don't know what I'm doing. Well, today is Monday, which means it is my day off, which also means it's been a week since Kristine has been here, and I feel pretty comfortable saying that I am now at ease with the basic stitch. Not an expert by any means, but I feel pretty darn comfortable. I've got lots of goofy little test swatches and corpses to show for it, but now feeling really good. So I did a couple things yesterday and this morning. First of all was, after getting quite comfortable with, the chunkier yarns, that proved to be a lifesaver. I then went back yesterday and tackled the thin yarn that I was struggling with so much 1 week ago when Kristine left, and I tried to pick this up and I was like incapable of doing it. Well, I went and picked it back up today, and it looks really good. I was able to do it. Now, I still prefer the look of the heftier thread because your thumb is your gauge, right? So there's only so small you can make the loops. And with my size thumb, using a thin thread leaves a more lacy looking effect. So I think I prefer the effect with thicker thread, but a week ago I could not even manage to handle this, and now it's looking quite sharp. The other thing I did this morning was I started a new one, and I started it with the stitch I've been using all week, which is, pick up one from the front of the thumb and then pick up the one over the thumb. And then after having established one full round like that, just to make sure I was stable, I then switched to trying again the stitch that Kristine showed me, which was one from the front, the one over the thumb, and then a second one from behind the thumb. And that was giving me so much trouble a week ago. Pretty sure there's a clip of me here struggling with it. And then this one and this one. At this point, it's guesswork. But now, after, 6 or 7 days of working on it, it gave me no trouble whatsoever. Like, I'm not going to say that I'm a professional or anything. I'm still probably much slower than people that do this on a regular basis, but it didn't give me any trouble. I was like, oh, there's that stitch. Like, just having the regularity that comes with practice made it so much easier. So now, having worked on all these little guys, I think it's probably time to either learn a new stitch or figure out a project that I want to make with them. The thing is that it is summer and it's fairly warm here, and even when it's a little bit chilly, I'm still not sure that I want to be making like heavy wool socks or hats, which is kind of the majority of the projects that Nalbinding is used for. So gonna ruminate on that and get back to you with what I eventually decide to do.
You can do thin things, but usually people will do
stunning
thick things. So you can feel like this is quite dense. I mean, you'll do pretty thick thread because it's easy.
And then it probably also grows quite quickly as well, I would imagine.
It can. But I mean, there is debate because some people will make really big things like sweaters or vests or things like that. And it's like, we haven't actually found anything that is that much bigger than mittens and socks and small garments. Usually the bigger garments would have been woven as far as we can tell, which is interesting.
Well, I've got mail. I mentioned my needle sizing woes to Kristine, and she insisted on sending me her teeny tiny little bone needle, the one that she taught me with. Let's open this up and then get to work using it. I can't wait to see how it influences my technique and, if it makes things go a little bit easier. So thank you so much, Kristine. Very, very sweet of you. Oh, and I even got a whole little letter to go with it. Here follows, I hope, an unbroken and safe needle, can confirm, to further your enjoyment of the rather addictive craft of Nalbinding. So I can confirm it arrived completely intact, and I cannot wait to start using it. Fun little update for anybody who is wondering what if I managed to do anything with the other yarn from that original thrift haul. The answer is yes. I have turned that lovely bamboo cotton lilac yarn into this. It is the beginning of this fun little strappy tank top cardigan situation. Very cute. Really fun pattern. I'll link it in the description. Pretty easy. Much more easy after I committed to getting a crochet hook for the baubles. But yeah, can't wait to get this done and blocked out and start wearing it because really cute.
But are you ambidextrous, or are you like...
I mean, no. It's fine.
Maybe a time.
I'm gonna have a really fun story behind why I do this with my left hand.
Of all the crafts, why is this particular
one left-handed? When in Norway, learn needlebinding from a Norwegian.
From the one person doing it left-handed.
Yeah. Okay, friends, quick little check-in here. I was feeling a little bit stymied in terms of what I wanted to make with this new technique that I'm starting to learn. I wanted to have a project to work on. It felt a little more productive, but I didn't know what, because like I said, wool hats, wool socks, they felt very seasonal and not like something that I wanted to be working on right now. So I thought, you know what, let's use this as the perfect excuse to go back to the thrift store and see if I can find any yarns there that would spark my creativity, get some creative juices flowing. And let me tell you, the Norwegian thrift stores once again delivered, because I walked away with these absolutely gorgeous 100% wool yarns, and I'm in love with these colors. I love the gradient. They are all the same company, same brand, same gauge, everything. So they should go together really, really well. And looking at this and the gradient here, I suddenly was inspired. I thought maybe I could make a bag in an ombre gradient here, dark at the bottom, light at the top. It felt so much more interesting to me. Just something about it, you know, it's useful. I can use a bag, but it's not so seasonal and warm. So that was my game plan for most of yesterday, until, you know, the more I thought about it and looked at these stunning yarns, I was thinking, you know, it almost feels like a waste to use them on a bag, because they would make absolutely gorgeous hats or socks. If I would wait for half a year, then I could do some really warm, cozy knitting or Nalbinding with them. But I still really like the idea of a bag, so I thought, okay, let's go and look at what I have in my stash from that first thrifting trip, see if there's anything in there that I would like to make a bag out of, and that is what I came up with, these colors. Now, this is actually in large part inspired by the fact that I now have 2 needles. Thank you, Kristine, for sending me your second needle. I was thinking 2 needles, 2 colors. Maybe I could try doing something striped. I know it's possible. Kristine has this super cute red and white candy cane striped hat that she made last winter, I believe. So I know it's possible. I just don't know how. But I think we're going to find out. I'm just going to try it. I'm going to jump in, see if I can figure it out on my own without watching any tutorials. We're going to use this dark blue and this grayish brownish taupe color, and we're going to play around with some striping for my bag.
I like projects that are so portable. Again, it's only a needle and thread.
That's true, yeah.
Very, very easy to drop in a bag and bring with you to travel or whatever. It's super super travel friendly, small space friendly. When I was a student, again, it doesn't take up a lot of space.
Yeah, no, that totally makes sense.
It's again many of those skills. It's like fairly basic to start learning it, but then you need to like get a little bit of the practice to get the tension.
Yeah,
and
get the motor skills, find the rhythm of it.
And then everyone asks, what are you doing? Is it crochet? Is it knitting? The best is when you find the really crafty ladies who feel like they really know crafts, and then they look at your hat and be like,
what is this?
But I know crafts, what is that? What?
Yeah, it's a needle binding.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so how you would do like a polka stripe if you wanted to do that is you would just start a second one.
At what point?
Before you do the join usually.
I guess it doesn't really matter.
It doesn't really. I think this one I tried to even them out and they're about halfway from each other to like smooth them out a little bit.
So at one point do you literally take your thumb out of one color and pick up the other color? And you have to do it before you finish the round of...
Yeah.
Okay, so you're kind of constantly switching.
Yeah, you're going from... but usually it would end up to be like one length of thread.
Yes.
Especially for hats. Like, maybe not so
sense.
much mittens, but hats, it turns out that you're doing one thread and before you're splicing the new one, you're doing the other one and then you're sort of chasing each other around.
Quick stripe update, because I have been making some good progress on the stripes and I'm really happy with the way that they look. Like, the colors look very luxurious together. They go nicely. The beginning was admittedly a bit rough. We can kind of see it here. I definitely didn't use the right technique, but I don't know what the right technique is because I didn't bother to look it up. I just kind of jumped in and figured I'd wing it. Admittedly, the first thing I tried was definitely not the right technique because it looked really, really ugly. So I went back, took those knots out, tried it again. The second thing I tried looked significantly less ugly. So even if it's not technically the correct way to go, I'm sure somebody else has done it like this in the previous several hundred years. So gonna keep working on that. Very happy with the way it's coming out. And yeah, over the next few days, it should shape up into something pretty cool, I think. Also, I'm sitting by the moose enclosure and I just got to see 2 calves and they were adorable and giant. So how did the bag turn out? Well, first of all, here it is. It is very cute. I'm very happy with it, but it is also very much messing with the exposure of my settings. So I'm going to show you some B-roll shots of it instead while I talk about it. You can see I did decide to add a fabric lining so that way I could use a zipper, which I mean, I suspect, especially if you're a hardcore needlebinding fan, you might find it a bit bizarre. It is entirely anachronistic, using this ancient fiber art technique and then combining it with something as modern as a zipper, but honestly, it was just the way that I knew I would get the most use out of the bag if it didn't have a bunch of tiny little holes for my crafting supplies to fall out of. Plus, I do genuinely enjoy the juxtaposition of the modern and the ancient. Now, I know that I included some snippets of the original crafting session with me and Kristine in my caravan, but trust me, there was actually far more to it. I struggled hardcore for a solid hour while we chatted about Viking history, how she learned Nalbinding, just a whole bunch of other very fun topics. So if you would like to watch all of that, it is currently up on my second channel right here. You can click on over and keep the fun going. Plus, you can keep your eyes out over there as well for a behind the scenes debrief of all the things that I learned while tackling this new skill.